What's good? We back with the Box Clinic and more. You know what it is, man. We went live talking about Jermell, Charlo, and Swift Hurd. I wanted to get a little bit more in detail about the fight, and or just give you an exclusive video just about the fight, so you don't have to sit through the whole stream. But Jermell, Charlo, Swift, Jarrett, Hurd. A lot of people, it's like, oh, Charlo didn't do nothing to Trout, and Hurd dominated Trout. But people tend to forget that Trout was winning every damn round for like the first 6, 7, 8 rounds. Versus Hurd, and he was outboxing Hurd very, very bad, and ultimately Hurd knocked him out. And people was, deducting cool points or boxing points. Ain't heard that in a minute from Jermell Charlo because he didn't knock out Austin Trout. And people say, well, if that was Hurd in there, he would have did this and that. But at the end of the day, styles make fights. You can't do that boxing triangle shit that people be trying to do. Excuse my French, but it's definitely a good fight. Hurd told my boy at the International Boxing Hall of Fame that for sure he wanted that fight next. But, excuse me, just a couple weeks ago, when Fred from Barbershop Conversation was down there, they was talking about they wanted to fight Kell Brook in the right-handed fighter now. Now, what changed between then and now is the fact that Kell Brook is going to come back in July. Americano will come back in the first week of September. They eventually going to meet at the end of the year. And Hurd knows he's not going to get that Brook fight. But he still said he still wanted to fight at least a right-hander to get tuned up for Charlo. So that won't happen, I think. Charlo's talked so much shit to make the fight happen. I heard that Al Haymon wants the fight to happen next. That's a big fight. It'll be the first time that Jermell Charlo, I believe, would headline a major Showtime televised card. Now, this is just point of view, my point of view for the fight right now. It could drastically change. We talked about it a little bit this earlier on the live stream we did with Colossal Sports TV. If y'all haven't followed or subscribed to Colossal Sports TV, go ahead and do that as well. It's my brother over there, and go show him some love. All right? But, hey, like I said from the beginning, it don't change up. I told people before I get to my opinion that this was a high-risk, low-reward fight for Charlo. And hopefully this fight gets some money on Hurd, and Hurd comes out a big favorite or a mid-side favorite over Charlo if this fight happens. Charlo said, F all the DC fighters. He been very disrespectful to Hurd. Hurd is a nice guy, bro. Trust me, you can say something, reach out to him. He always respond. I got much love for him, but it's a business, it's boxing. And I'm telling you now, I think Jermell Charlo is going to do something that Arizona Lara, Tony Harrison, and Austin Trout was doing, and he's going to beat the fuck out of Swift Hurd early. And I think it's up to Hurd to know if he could take the power from Jermell Charlo. Now, people say, oh, Charlo looked bad versus Trout. I mean, at the end of the day, Trout was slick. He's tricky. He's tough to look good against. He's a southpaw. And at the end of the day, Jermell was so uptight. He believed the funk about how he needed to have a spectacular performance against a tough Hispanic crowd, majority Hispanic crowd at the LA Staples Center. He needed to perform. He tried to press for the knockout, and when you press and look for the knockout, usually you don't find that knockout, and that's what happened with him. And with Swift Jarrett Hurd, he ain't gonna be able. He gonna be able to find that man. But people forget Jermell Charlo has exceptional movement and boxing ability that he learned from Ronnie Shield. And I think he has an identity crisis, or not even say identity crisis. He has an issue. He needs to learn how to mix his movement and his boxing ability with his aggressive nature that he learned from Derrick James to really kind of mesh that. So once he learns how to do that, he'll be a better fighter. But with Hurd, he can beat him. He can fight him or box him a few ways. He can box and move like he used to. And then, add some aggressive nature when Hurd try to come on late. And that's what I would do. But I think it's going to be imperative for Charlo to show some body work. He should hit Austin Trout with a couple good right hands to the body. But he consistently didn't go there. And I think that's a point of emphasis, body work. Anybody got a strong chin, you got to go to the body. And for Hurd, Hurd is going to have to learn some defense, man. He got to be swift and live up to his name and move his head. He can't just walk down this Charlo twin. This Charlo twin is a big junior welterweight as well. He's not as big as Hurd. But guess what? He's the biggest puncher that Hurd will face. And we seen Arizona Lara kind of buzz him a bit. He can't take that punishment from this Charlo. He's going to have to move his head. He's going to have to counter. He has that ability to fight on the back foot as well, too. I seen early in his career when he fighting JoJo Dan and a couple other guys, Frank Garza, he's able to move on the back foot and walk guys into punches. But he's going to have to move that head versus Charlo, man. He can't just take that punishment from this guy and expect to win. This guy and Charlo isn't Austin Trout, an older Trout, isn't an older Lara, or he isn't a mid-level novice in Tony Harrison. He ain't gonna just barely walk to the finish line like Charlo. You know, like Lara, he's gonna finish a little bit tougher because he's a little bit younger and fresher. But what Hurd does have in his favor is experience. He's experienced versus tougher competition, in my opinion, than Charlo. He's been in tough and adverse situations, unlike Charlo. Even though Charlo had an adverse situation with Vanes Monterosi, in my opinion. But I think, the experience factor on top level fights and in main event elite level fights is with Swift Jarrett Hurd. And that experience is going to kind of, if he wins, going to carry him through. But I think body work. I think Hurd is a good body puncher. I think he need to work Charlo body. But for Charlo, it's imperative that he works Hurd's body. I think it's a must. I think most of his punches should go to the body. But like I said, man, in my opinion, skill-wise, it's Charlo. A lot of people, don't like Charlo, so they let that spill into their prediction. They let that spill into their, when it comes down to, talking about breaking down the fight, people are biased against them. And they want Hurd to win so bad, they just tell you, okay, Hurd gonna win this fight, Hurd gonna win this fight, okay? Hurd gonna win this fight, but they can't tell you how it's gonna happen. They don't tell you what your Jermell Charlo do. It's biased, and that's not what you get from this channel, man. I don't care what that guy say. When it ultimately comes down to breaking down and predicting the fight, or give you my opening opinion on the fight like this right here, point of view, I'm going to tell you right now, Jermell Charlo is the more talented fighter by far. It's not even close, But Hurd has some tangibles and intangibles. He got a lot of heart. He got a lot of will. He got a lot of size. He got a lot of power to the body, to the head. But I don't see him being a great puncher. I don't see him being a great explosive puncher. I don't see him being a great accurate puncher. A lot of what happens for Hurd goes off of his size and how he fatigues and wear down on an opponent. Don't forget he was losing on Lara on most of the scorecards going into that 12th round too. And in my opinion, I just think Jermell Charlo was very, very young. He's still fresh. He ain't took a lot of punishment. He's the biggest puncher that Hurd will have faced. And he's probably the most athletic and fastest fighter that Hurd has faced. But it'll be a good fight. I don't consider this a 50-50 fight as well. I heavily favor Jermell Charlo, probably a 70-30 split in my opinion. But it depends if Hurd continues to get better and hone his skill. But if he comes in like his past 3 fights, his face gonna leave needing plastic surgery, and I believe he's gonna take a hell of a beating. And I think Jermell Charlo will win that fight. But like I said, you never know. Hurd continues to get better. He's still young. He's still green. But I heavily favor Charlo in my opinion right now. But she can change. We gone.